Hey guys, so here are the solutions for the extra review. So for number one, you want to find the difference quotient. And remember, again, I told you guys that this right here will be given to you on the test, so you don't have to memorize it. Okay, so the hardest part of this is trying to find out what this f of x plus h is. And that just means to replace all of these x's with an x plus h. So we're going to get 3 times x plus h squared plus 5. Okay, now the next part of this is I need to subtract f of x. And remember, when you're subtracting it, you want to put in a parenthesis. And you guys, this is f of x. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3x squared plus 5. And I'm going to go ahead and divide by h on the bottom. Okay, now you guys, it would really help if you had this memorized. X plus h squared equals x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. As I was helping people today, a lot of people are forgetting that too. Okay, so please make sure you've got that in there. So this is going to be 3 times, if I go ahead and multiply that out, I'm going to get the x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. And then I have a plus 5. And if I distribute my negative, I'm going to get negative 3x squared minus 5, all divided by h. And then let's go ahead and distribute my 3. So you'll get 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared plus 5 minus 3x squared minus 5 all over h. And at this point, things should cancel out. If they're not, you did something wrong, so go back and check. So I noticed that the 3x squared cancels, the 5's cancel, and what I have left over here, everything has an h in. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1h out, 1h out, 1h out, leaving me with 6x plus 3h. Okay? Now B, same type of thing, just a little bit strange on this one because it's so many negatives on this one. So again, I need to find this f of x plus h first, which means replace all the x's with the x plus h. So I'm going to get negative x plus h squared minus 2 times x plus h. And then again, I'm subtracting f of x, and f of x is again all of this, so I need to put into parentheses negative x squared minus 2x, and then that's all over h. Kind of a gross question. Okay, again, I have negative. And then what is x plus h squared? Be great if you memorized it. It's right there. So that's x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. I'm going to go ahead and distribute the negative 2. Gives me minus 2x minus 2h. And then distribute that negative sign. I get plus x squared plus 2x all over h. And then distributing this negative, it's going to give me negative x squared minus 2xh minus h squared minus 2x minus 2h plus x squared plus 2x all over h. And again, at this point, things should cancel, right? So I have a negative x squared here, a positive x squared there, a negative 2x here, a positive 2x there. And what's left over has an h in every single term. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of one h in each term. And that's going to leave me with negative 2x minus h minus 2. All right, so you guys really, like, if you struggled with these, I would, like, you know, write them down on a separate sheet of paper and try them again and see if you can get the right answer. Okay, practice, practice. All right, number 2, find the equation of the line. So if you want to find the equation of the line, we need 2 things. We need a point, which we have, right? There's my point, 2, 0. And then we need a slope, which we do not have. They didn't give us a slope, but they did give us some information here. They said that my line is parallel to 2x plus 5y equals 1. So let's take that 2x plus 5y equal 1, and let's find the slope. Now, to find the slope, you want to get the y by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 2x. So I'm going to get negative 2x plus 1, and then I'm going to divide by 5. So y is going to give me negative 2/5 x plus 1/5. So I divided everything by 5. Now the slope ends up being the number in front of your x. Remember, y equals mx plus b. So if my slope is negative 2/5, okay, and I want a line parallel to it, the parallel slope is also going to be negative 2/5 because remember, you guys, parallel lines have the same slope. So now plugging it into y minus y1 equals m negative 2/5 times x minus x1. There is the equation of your line. And if you'd like to, you can totally solve that equation for y, but I'm fine with it that way. All right, B, same question. I want an equation of a line, so I need a point, which they gave me, negative 3, 1. and I need a slope. And again, they did not give me that, but they did give me a whole bunch of information. So same idea. Take that negative 3x plus 4y equals 2 and solve that equation for y. So I'm going to go ahead and add 3x to both sides, giving me y equals 3x plus 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide everything by 4, giving me 3 over 4x plus 2 over 4. And again, you guys, the number I really care about is this one. That is your m. The number in front of the x is your slope. So if my slope is 3 over 4, now this time I want a line perpendicular to it. So my perpendicular slope, remember what you do? Change the sign and flip, right? So if it's positive, I'm going to change it to a negative, and then I'm going to flip the fraction. So negative 4/3 is going to be my slope. Now plugging this into point slope form, I'm going to get y minus y1 equals m, which is negative 4/3 times x minus x1. Now x1 happens to be a negative 3, so two negatives are going to turn that into a positive. So there is your line in point slope form. Okay? All right, now these guys, please don't miss these. Okay, these are the easy ones. Okay, know your translations, right? F plus g of x. This means f of x plus g of x. Please write that out on the test. It'll really, really help you. Now it's just a matter of plugging it in. F of x is this, 2x squared plus 3x minus 3. And g of x is this, 2x plus 1. And I'm just adding them together. There's no need to put a parenthesis if you're adding, right? Because the distributing and addition sign doesn't do anything. So there's only 1x squared, so here's a 2x squared. Then combining my x's, 3x plus 2x is 5x. And then negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. So basically, you just added the two polynomials together. Okay, b is very similar, except now you're subtracting. So again, the translation is f of x minus g of x. And you guys remember when you're subtracting, I'm going to put parentheses around whatever I'm subtracting to make sure I distribute the negative sign. So f of x, again, is 2x squared plus 3x minus 3. Then minus, don't forget your parenthesis, and then you're subtracting g of x, which is 2x plus 1. I'm going to go and distribute the negative sign, giving me 2x squared plus 3x minus 3. Distribute, negative 2x minus 1. And again, I only have one 2x squared, so I'm going to go ahead and leave that 2x squared. And then 3x minus 2x is 1x. And then negative 3 minus 1 gives me negative 4. So that is the difference of the two functions. Okay, now for part C, now we're multiplying the functions together, okay? Except now that's not an x anymore. We're evaluating at x equals 2. So this is going to equal f of x. Nope, there's no x. I just said that. Sorry. F of 2 times g of 2. Look, you're multiplying f times g, evaluating it at 2. So it's f of 2 times g of 2. Okay, so what does this mean? This guy means take 2 and plug it into f. This guy means take 2 and plug it into g. So let's go ahead and do that. If I take the 2 and plug it into f, here's f, right? I'm going to get 2 times 2 squared plus 3 times 2 minus 3. Okay, well this right here, 2 squared is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 3. So that's 14 minus 3, which is 11. So I know that f of 2 is this lovely 11. Now I have to find g of 2. That means take 2 and plug it into g. Well, here's g, 2x plus 1. So this is going to be 2 times 2 plus 1, which equals 5. Now what do I do to these two numbers? Well, remember it said to multiply them together. So 11 times 5 equals 55. Okay? All right, D just says the same thing, but just divide them. So translation, this is f of negative 1 over g of negative 1. Well, f of negative 1 just simply means take negative 1 and plug it into f. G of negative 1 means take negative 1 and plug it into g. So again, you guys, I'm going to go look at my f. My f is this 2x squared plus 3x minus 1. So I'm going to replace all the x's with a negative 1. So this is 2 times negative 1 squared plus 3 times negative 1 minus 3, all over. Take all the negative 1s and plug them into g. So here's g, so it's going to be 2 times negative 1 plus 1. And then evaluating this, negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2, that gives me 2, so this would be 2. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and then I have a minus 3 at the end. Then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2 plus 1. So this ends up being, let's see, negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4 over negative 1, which equals 4. Okay? All right, let's see what we've got next. Okay, composition. So every time you see the little circle, that means to compose. So again, write down your translations. So this means find f of g of 2. Okay, so what I'm doing this time, I'm going to take the 2, plug it into g. Okay, so I'm going to take the 2 and plug it into g. That's going to give me 5 times 2 squared minus 2. Let's figure out what that is. 2 squared is 4, 4 times 5 is 20, 20 minus 2 is 18. So g of 2 is 18. But I'm not quite done yet because I still have this f, right? So that means plug 18 into the function f. So if I'm going to plug 18 into f, I'm going to get this equals 4 times 18 minus 3. You guys, these numbers are getting a little bit big, but 18 times 4, I believe, is 72, and 72 minus 3 is 69. So part A, the answer should be 69. All right, part B. I'm going to compose f with itself. That looks like fun. So I have f of negative 3. So this means plug negative 3 into f, and let's get that answer. So I'm going to go ahead and plug negative 3 into f. So that's going to be 4 times negative 3 minus 3, which is negative 12 minus 3, which is negative 15. But again, I'm not done yet because I still have this other f. Okay, now it says plug that answer into f again. So I'm going to plug it into here again. So this is 4 times negative 15 minus 3. 4 times negative 15, that's negative 60. Negative 60 minus 3 is negative 63. All right, and then C. So again, write down your translation. This means f of g of x. Okay, no numbers this time, which means my answers are just going to have x's in them. Okay, so what is g of x? Well, g of x is this 5x squared minus 2. So I'm going to replace that, f of 5x squared minus 2. And now this just says plug 5x squared minus 2 into f. So I'm going to put 5x squared minus 2 into that x there. So this is going to be 4 times, replace the x with 5x squared minus 2. Don't forget the minus 3 on the outside. And let's just distribute. So that's going to give me 20x squared minus 8 minus 3. Combine the negative 8 and the negative 3 into a negative 11. And there you have it. Okay, now for D, you're just going backwards. So this time you want to do g of f of x. So what does f of x equal? So f of x equals 4x minus 3. So this is going to be g of 4x minus 3. And this time you're plugging 4x minus 3 into g. Now g is a little bit more complicated, so I'm replacing all of these x's with a 4x minus 3. So it's going to be 5 times 4x minus 3. Don't forget to square it, and then a minus 2. Okay? All right, guys, the 4x minus 3 squared. This really means 5 times 4x minus 3 times 4x minus 3 minus 2. Now, look, you can distribute the 5 first, but I really prefer multiplying these guys together first. Okay, I think it's a little bit easier. So look, we get this 5 on the outside, and then 4x times 4x, that's 16x squared. And then I have negative 12x minus 12x, which is negative 24x. And then I have negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. And don't forget your minus 2 at the end. Then distributing through 5 times 16, I believe that is 80x squared. 24 times 5, what is that? Is that 120, I think, right? 120x. And then 5 times 9 is 45. Don't forget your minus 2. And then just combine these guys together. So you're going to get 80x squared minus 120x plus 43. The numbers aren't that big on the test tomorrow. Sorry, I made up these problems. All right. E, I think, is by far the worst one of all of them. Let's translate. This means g of f of 2x plus 1. Okay, so the first thing I want to do on this one, I want to plug 2x plus 1 into f. So I want to go into f right here and replace that x with 2x plus 1. So this is going to be g of 4 times 2x plus 1 and then minus 3. Okay, now let's go ahead and fix that up before we plug it into g. So this is really 8x plus, and then 4 minus 3 is 1. So I kind of did that in one step, if that's okay. Now I have to plug this 8x plus 1 into g. So I'm going to go to g, which is right here, and I'm going to replace this x here with 8x plus 1. So that's going to give me 5 times 8x plus 1 squared, and then a minus 2 on the outside. Okay, and again, you guys, this squared here, it means that I'm going to have to FOIL. So if you FOIL this, you're going to get 5 times, and if you do it on the side here, let's do it on the side because I'm going to run out of room. 8x plus 1 times 8x plus 1. Okay, so 8x times 8x, that's 64x squared. And then 8x plus 8x is 16x. And then 1 times 1 is 1. And then don't forget the minus 2 at the end. Okay, I'm almost done. Let's distribute the 5. 5 times 64. Let's do that on the side. 64 times 5. So 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. That's going to be 320. So this is going to be 320x squared. So going to run out of room. And then 5 times 16 is 80. So plus 80x. And then I have 5 times 1 is 5. But 5 minus 2 is 3. So it's going to be plus 3 at the end. Kind of ran out of room. Kind of didn't. Okay. All right, number 5. Okay, it says find f of g of x. So we've just been doing that. That shouldn't be a problem. So I want to find f of g of x. So again, let's plug in the g of x. G of x is the square root of 4x plus 1. So it's f of the square root of 4x plus 1, which translates to plug the square root of 4x plus 1 into f. So I'm going to go into f, and wherever I see the x, I'm going to replace it with the square root of 4x plus 1. So this is going to be 2 times the square root of 4x plus 1, that whole thing squared. But remember, a square cancels out a square root. So what I have left over is 2 times 4x plus 1. But then when I distribute, I'm going to end up getting 8x plus 2. Okay, now you guys, that's the answer for this, find f of g of x. Now the next part of this problem is find its domain. And a lot of people will go, hey, the domain's all real numbers, but it's not, because remember, this square root of 4x plus 1 got plugged into that x, so I have to look at the domain of this function, okay? Whatever the domain this square root has is going to follow the whole equation all the way up to the very end here. So how do I find the domain of that? Remember, square roots can't be negative, so I'm going to take that 4x plus 1 and force it to be positive. If I subtract 1 from both sides, I'm going to get 4x is greater than or equal to negative 1. If I divide by 4, I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to 1/4. So your domain is x is greater than or equal to negative 1/4. All right, finding inverses. Okay, inverses is where you switch the x's and y's and solve for y. I don't have a y, so I need to rewrite this. This really is a y. Y equals 2x plus 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and switch my x's and y's. So whatever was a y becomes an x. Whatever was an x becomes a y. And then I just need to solve my equation for y. So if I subtract 3, I'm going to get x minus 3 equals 2y. If I divide by 2, I'm going to get x minus 3 over 2 equals y. So there is your inverse function. Okay, same thing for part B. F of x equals y. So I have y equals x plus 2 cubed. I'm going to switch my x's and y's, which is going to give me x equals y plus 2 cubed. And then you guys, look, you don't want to do the y plus 2 cubed. You don't want to multiply that out. That would be a nightmare. But what you can do is kind of think about, how do I get rid of a cube? Well, I can do a cube root, right? So let's do the cube root to both of these. And I know that a cube root and a cube are going to cancel each other out. So what I have left is the cube root of x equals y plus 2. And now that's a lot easier to solve for y. All you have to do there is subtract the 2. And you guys, again, something I noticed today, a lot of you are putting pluses and minus on this. You only do a plus or minus if you're taking an even root, like a square root or a fourth root or a sixth root, okay? Otherwise, the odd roots don't get it. All right, number 7, show that the following functions are inverses of each other. You need to know what it means by definitions for two functions to be inverses. And that just means that f of g of x equals x, and g of f of x also equals x. That is the mathematical definition of what an inverse is. So let's go ahead and prove that. So what is g of x? Let's go ahead and plug that in. G of x is this. Not very pretty, but it's not the end of the world. So it's x minus 8 over 3. Now this just means plug x minus 8 over 3 into f. So here's f. Wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with x minus 8 over 3. So this is going to be 3 times x minus 8 over 3, and then plus 8 on the outside. And now let's do some canceling here. So notice the 3's are going to cancel, leaving me with an x minus 8 plus 8. And on this one, the 8's are going to cancel, leaving me with just an x. And you guys notice that is exactly what I wanted, right? I wanted it to equal x. All right, let's do it backwards, though, because one way is not enough. Okay, so what is f of x this time? F of x is 3x plus 8. So this is going to be g of 3x plus 8. This just means plug in 3x plus 8 into g. So I'm going to go into this x and replace this x with 3x plus 8, which will give me 3x plus 8. Don't forget the minus 8 here, and then all over 3. And again, look for things that cancel. These guys cancel, leaving me with a 3x over 3. And looking at that, the 3's cancel, so it just leaves me with an x, and that is exactly what I wanted, right? So that's how you show inverses. Okay, B is a little bit harder because of all the fractions, but we have to do the same thing, right? So we need to show that f of g of x equals x. And then we need to show that g of f of x also equals x. All right, so let's start with the g of x. G of x is this lovely fraction. So we've got f of 3 over x plus 4. This means plug in 3 over x plus 4 into f. So this x is going to get replaced with this little nightmare, but it's okay, we can do it. So we've got 3 over, now I'm going to go ahead and replace this x here, right? Replacing that guy. So it's going to be 3 over x plus 4, but then don't forget we still have this minus 4 here. Okay, now let's see what can cancel here. I see the 4's canceling, leaving me with a 3 over 3 over x. Now, you guys, this really means that we're dividing by a fraction. So this is 3 divided by a fraction. That's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So this is 3 times x over 3, and then notice the 3's cancel, leaving me with that x that I wanted. All right? Now, doing it the other way around, f of x is this 3 over x minus 4. So I'm going to have g of 3 over x minus 4. That means plug 3 over x minus 4 into g. So I'm replacing this x this time. So it's going to be 3 over x minus 4. And then don't forget the plus 4 right here on the side. Okay? Now I'm going to deal with this because this is gross. Okay, so I have 3 divided by a fraction. Again, that's the same as 3 times the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is x minus 4 over 3, and then don't forget that plus 4 on the side. Now look, these 3's cancel, leaving me with x minus 4 plus 4. And again, the 4's cancel, leaving me with just an x, and that is what I wanted. Okay, so really practice those. If you're not good at them, write them down on a separate sheet of paper. Do it again. Look at your yellow and blue reviews. There's more practice there. If you still don't get it, please come in at lunch tomorrow so I can help you. All right, for these, make sure that you know your parent function. So the parent functions for A is y equals absolute value of x. Draw it on there, please. Okay, so absolute value of x starts with 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, and it just goes up like that, right? And then it goes on the other side, negative 1, 1, negative 2, 2, et cetera, right? This is absolute value of x. Now, what do I do to it? Let's look at the transformations here. So this right here goes right 2 because it's inside, and the other one goes up 4 because it's outside. So I'm going to take all of these points and go right 2, up 4. So maybe we can take this point right here. If I go right 2 and then up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be here. Maybe take this point, go right 2 and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And maybe take this point and go right 2 and up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. My V is going to be something like this. Okay, and then you guys just kind of stand back and go, well, did the red move right 2 up 4? Yeah, it kind of looks like it. All right. Okay, for B, my parent function on this one is just y equals x squared. Remember, that is a parabola that starts at 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, negative 1, 1, negative 2, 4. So this is my parent function. Now, what's happening to it? Okay, so let's see what happened here. So there's a negative on the outside, which means that we have a flip over the x-axis. And then there's a -2 there, which means we're going to go down 2. Okay, so if I flip this over the x-axis, you guys, it's just going to go facing in the other direction, right? It's going to do something like this. So flip over the x-axis makes my parabola look like this. But I'm not quite done yet. I didn't even connect the dot, whatever. Okay, I still need to move down 2. So I'm going to take all those points and move them down 2. Take this point, move it down 2, down 2, down 2, down 2. So now my parabola looks something like... There's something so wrong with that. Because this point should be here, right, you guys? Yes, it should look like this. Sorry about that. That's like ultra ugly. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so again, imagine like that red parabola flipped over the x-axis and then everything moved down too. Okay? All right, next one, perform the indicated transformations. Okay, so write down what's happening to the transformation and then go ahead and do it, okay? So this right here means to, this right here means to multiply the y's by 1/2. And then this right here means to go up 2, okay? So if we multiply all the y's by 1/2, let's get some points going here. So this point right here, you guys, is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, this point is -5, comma 2. This point is -3, comma 0. This point is 0, comma 3. This point is 3, comma -3. And then this point here looks like it's 5, comma -2. Okay, so if I want to multiply all the y's by 1/2, you guys, multiplying by 1/2 is the same as dividing by 2. So I'm going to take all my y values, all of these guys, and I'm just going to cut them in half. So what are my new points going to be? Let's write them in red, okay? So this point is going to become -5, 1. I'm taking this 2 and dividing it by 2. This point is going to become -3, 0, because 0 divided by 2 is still 2. This point is going to become 0 and 3 over 2, which is 1.5. This point is going to become 3 and -3 over 2, which is -1.5. And this point is going to become 5 and -1, because -2 divided by 2 is -1. And then just plot those red dots, reconnect, and see what we've got. So my new red dot is -5, 1, which is right here. My next red dot is -3, 0, which stayed the same. Then I'm at 0, 1.5, which is here. Then I'm at 3, -1.5, which is here. Then I'm at 5, -1, which is here. So if I connect this, notice I just shrunk my graph vertically. Okay, kind of squashed it. Okay, but what do I need to do next to it? Let's do it in a different color, maybe like this pretty, I don't know, green, I guess. No, I already use green. Purple? Sure. Okay, so I still need to move everything up 2. So I'm going to take all those dots and move them up 2. Move up 2, move up 2, move up 2, move up 2, move up 2. Okay, and then connecting my purple dots, there is my final graph. And you guys, if you're doing several transformations, just kind of like do an arrow and tell me what the final graph is. Okay? Now B, this is the one we've been really working on. Make sure that you know how to do this when it's on your test, okay? So if there are 2 things that are happening inside of your parenthesis, you need to factor out that negative. So this is going to be f of -x plus 2. So what have we got going on here? You guys, this flips because it changes on the inside over the y-axis. And this goes against logic, so it's going to be left 2. So we're flipping everything over the y-axis and then going left 2. Guys, I'm going to attempt to do this in one step. I think I can do it. So look, I'm going to take this point, flip it over the y-axis, which is going to land right there, and then I'm going to move it left 2, 1, 2. So this right here is my final resting spot. Okay, I'm going to make my final points a little bit bigger. Then I'm going to take this point right here, flip it over the y-axis, which is going to land me right here, but then I still need to move it left 2, so I'm going to go 1, 2. This is my next dot. I'm going to go ahead and start connecting them as I go so I don't lose track of what's going on. Okay, then taking this one, flipping over the y-axis stays in the same place, but then if I move it left 2, I'm going to end up here. It's going to connect that. Okay, and then I'm going to take this point, flip it over the y-axis. Remember, this is your y-axis. Flip it over the y-axis, which lands you here, and then move it left 2, which is going to land me right here. So connect that. Okay, and then you guys, last but not least, this little guy, flip it over the y-axis, which is all the way over here, and then moving it left 2, 1, 2 is going to land me somewhere right here off the graph. Hey, if you go off the graph, is it the end of the world? It's not the end of the world, right? You just go off the graph. It is what it is. Okay, finding the domain. Okay, remember domains, no denominators, square roots have to be positive. So what have I got myself here? I've got a denominator and a square root. So look, square roots have to be positive, but because it's a denominator, it can't equal 0, so I can't put that equal sign in, okay? How do you solve that? We're going to add 3 to both sides, giving me 4x. Let's erase that, sorry. 4x equals 3. If you divide by 4, that's not equals. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. It's greater than 3. And then if I divide by 4, I get x is greater than 3/4. Okay? And then for B, what have I got here? Well, denominators, that's not good. Denominators cannot equal 0, so I know x squared minus 4x plus 3 cannot equal 0. If I factor that, do the big X on it, that's going to be x minus 3 times x minus 1 cannot equal 0. And then setting each of these guys equal to 0, my domain is going to be that x can't equal 3 and x can't equal 1. So if I plug in either of those, it's going to give me an undefined answer. All right. And then number 11, oh, that's it. Woohoo. Okay, find the zeros. Zeros means replace this with a 0. So I have 0 equals 4x squared minus 20 all over x plus 2. Okay, now you guys look, if I want a fraction to equal 0, remember we talked about this, only the top part has to equal 0. No matter what the bottom part is, doesn't matter. If the top is 0, 0 over anything is 0. So let's go ahead and do this. I have 0 equals 4x squared minus 20. How do I solve that equation? Well, let's add 20 to both sides, giving me 20 equals 4x squared. And I can divide by 4, giving me 5 equals x squared. And then if I take the square root of both sides, taking the square root, I need a plus or minus. Square root of 5 equals x. All right? And then last one, let's make that f of x equal to 0. So 0 equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 1. Let's try to factor that. This is big star. It's been a while since we've done that. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. And 2 numbers that multiply to give me negative 3 would be negative 1 and 3. If I add those together, that gives me 2, but don't forget to divide by the leading coefficient. So you guys look, this one reduces to a 1, this one doesn't reduce anymore. So you get 0 equals x minus 1/3 and x plus 1. If I set both of these guys equal to 0, this gives me x equals 1/3, and this gives me x equals negative 1. Okay, and you might be thinking, what's the point of this? Okay, the zeros are where your graph crosses the x-axis, which is going to become really, really important in the next chapter. All right, so there's your video for this. You guys, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please come and see me tomorrow, either like before school, brunch, or lunch. Okay, have a good night. Bye.